Hello, welcome to my channel. So I've posted a few videos now about some of the books that I read in September and some of the stuff I'm reading now that it's October. Today's October 2nd, so not very far into that. But I just wanted to do this newbie tag. Feels a little bit silly, but I've been watching some of the videos about like how to start a booktube channel, how to be a new booktuber. And I don't know if I'm 100% on the wagon of being a booktuber per se. Not really sure what that means, but in some of these advice videos, it's like, make a video of yourself, put some books in it, respond to comments, and do the newbie tag to connect with other newbies. So I'm going to embrace my newbiness and try this out. So I'm going to go through the standard 10 questions. So first, why did I start this channel? Yeah, that's I guess that requires a little bit of backstory. So I'm 32 years old. I'm a mom. I have a 3-year-old, and I'm a scientist. Right now, I'm a postdoc researcher, which means I have my PhD, and I'm in a short-term grant-funded position for a couple of years. But what that means for the majority of my 20s, what that history means, is that I spent my 20s just like moving a lot and being just like very work focused and very research focused. And so for a while I would just say like, oh, I don't have time to read. And so I didn't prioritize reading for fun. And then I was like, why am I sad all the time? It's because you're not reading, dummy. Yeah, and it's been hard when you're moving a lot to find local in-person community. And of course now we're in a pandemic, so that's impossible. So I've been really just embracing my online friendships, especially with the people that I grew up with and friends from college and the friends that I've picked up kind of along the way through grad school and through my professional life. Just a lot of my life is online now, and that's fine. And so, yeah, kind of two things have been going on. So one is I just decided, screw it, I'm going to read books for fun, and I'm going to prioritize doing that over some of the other things I could be doing. And I want to just meet new people and have more people to talk about books with. Going back to the pandemic point, so when the pandemic started, my old book group from when I lived in Washington, D.C. right after college, decided to start up again online and read books together and have Zoom meetings to talk about them. And a group of my friends from high school back in Maryland decided to start a book group and meet online and talk about things. And then I also joined kind of a professional book group with some colleagues around the country talking about social justice issues in our field because, of course, along with the pandemic has been a big blow up in all of these ongoing social justice issues in the United States. So I joined 3 book clubs, and that's been really fun and really nerdy, and I decided it wasn't enough. I want more people to talk about books with, and I want to just, even if I'm just talking into the ether, I'm going to put it out there. I just love reading. So here we go. So what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? So again, not entirely sure what BookTube really means. It seems like there's a lot of people already on here. I've been really enjoying the past couple of months actually just watching tons of videos, adding tons of books to my to read list on Goodreads. So I'm not really sure necessarily that I can bring something fun and unique to like the video aspect of it. I mean, I'm a unique person. Sometimes I'm fun, so I'm bringing myself, and that's kind of what I can promise in my videos. Is it's just going to be me, because I'm a mom. I have probably less free time than it seems like a lot of booktubers maybe have to really edit and do some of the more creative things with their videos. I'm really just here to talk about books. Most of my videos will probably be me in front of a bookshelf or me outside talking about books. Maybe that'll change. But we'll see. In terms of fun and unique things, so I am a professional scientist, and so that's going to color some of what I read. I will read some things that are more in the science realm when I'm doing nonfiction. A lot of what I'm going to read is going to be fantasy and sci-fi because that's my happy place. But I will bring some of that more the more scientific nonfiction into BookTube, and I haven't been seeing a lot of that yet as I've been going around to different channels. I also have in 2020 been making a real commitment to read a lot of books related to various aspects of social justice, and so I will be talking about those as well. I'm definitely not unique. I've been finding a lot of booktubers that are talking about some really great books, and having some really insightful commentary about social justice issues, especially in the United States. So I'm really excited to join in on that, and I think there's so many good resources and books out there that that probably the ones that I bring will be a little bit different from what some other folks bring, just because, yeah, there's such a huge diversity of voices and works out there related to social justice. So I'm excited for both of those things. I don't want to pitch myself as a channel that will be focused on science and social justice. I definitely won't be focused on it. It's just that every month I'll be reading at least some books that are related to those two areas. But I do read, I guess I'm going into what kind of books? Okay, skipping ahead to question 10. What kind of books do I like to read? I like to read everything. Spoiler alert. So like I said, I will read some stuff that's science related, social justice related. I already mentioned fantasy and sci-fi is my happy place. General fiction is also a happy place. I love the classics, and I'd like to read more classics. So that might be one of the challenges I set myself at various times on this channel. I like mystery, I like true crime, I like manga and graphic novels. I literally like everything. I like history books. Yeah, I like memoir. So boom, there we go. I read romance. I literally read everything. It'll be a ride. Most excited about for this new channel, question number 3. I think I've already basically talked about that. I just like to babble about books, and I need more outlets through which to babble about books. So here we go. Why do I love reading? Question number 4. Does anybody not? Okay, I know there's people who don't love reading, but I don't know why does anybody love reading? Like, I could rattle off a bunch of answers. Like, I love learning. I love being exposed to new perspectives. I like being immersed in a world of fantasy. I like challenging my brain so that it kind of hurts a little. I like all of those things, but it's just what I grew up doing. My mom was a huge reader, and so that was just what we did. That's like my whole childhood. Like, I was either reading or I was playing outside, and those were the only options. Or I was at school, where I was probably either reading or playing outside. So it's, why do I love reading? It's just what I do. That's that. Question number 5. What book or series got you into reading? So the first book, this is gonna, I don't know, this is either gonna be a really weird answer or a really like trite stereotypical answer somehow. So the book or series that really got me into reading was The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And the reason is because my mom is a huge nerd, and so the earliest books that I remember reading with her, like that I remember like reading the words, was my mom. I mean, I must have been like 5 or 6, and my mom was like, what's a great bedtime story for like a 5-year-old? The Hobbit. Which, like, yeah, it's a story of adventure and friendship. It's great, but it doesn't have a ton of pictures. Like, this was like the fat paperback version, not the graphic novel version. But like, that's like one of my warmest, happiest, most comforting childhood memories, being curled up with my mom and my little brother on the couch while she read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And like, now I just find, like, if I read Tolkien, it's like my lullaby book almost. Like, sorry, that's just, like, the Silmarillion and things like that are not my lullaby book, but The Lord of the Rings especially, like, I know a lot of people talk about that language, the more like classic literary flowery language, right, being hard to get into, the more descriptive language. But to me, I'm like, oh, this just reminds me of bedtime and being loved. So yeah, like I said, that's probably either weird or somehow stereotypical. But yeah, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings were what really stick with me as like my emotional entry into reading. So those were things that I was kind of reading along with my mom, like in her lap or like right next to her. So I can remember like it was a big milestone for me when I could like keep up with reading visually what she was saying out loud, right? And then it was a big milestone when I could like read all the way to the end of the page because I was reading faster than how my mom was reading out loud, right? So like those are just things that really stick in my brain, right? As opposed as opposed to books that I really started actually reading on my own, you know, without an adult present. So that would be things like Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. Those were kind of the chapter books that were available in the little library in my first and second grade classroom. So I really have a soft spot for those mysteries because those are the first like big books that I was just reading on my own totally independently. One of the other books that really got me into reading, actually, I think I have here. Yeah, so this is one of my kids' bookshelves for my daughter. So this is a book she's not really into yet, but D'Aulaires' Book of Greek Myths. So there's some problems with this book, or maybe with the Greek myths in general. You know, sexism. Zeus is kind of a jerk. But this, along with the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, this was again one of the big books in my first and second grade classroom, and so I just remember learning to read it by myself independently, right? And that was just like such a big deal to me as a little kid. And then a couple other big ones were the Little House on the Prairie series by Laura Ingalls Wilder and the Anne of Green Gables series. Those are all just some of my childhood favorites that I was reading kind of around that time, like when I was 6 through 9 or so. So anyway, okay, long answer. Those are some of the books that got me into reading. What questions would I ask my favorite booktubers? So, I've just watched a lot of videos, so I don't feel like I have a ton of questions right now. You know, I'd like to ask questions about just like how do they choose on their TBR list, you know, like people talk about being a mood reader, or there are people who set challenges for themselves, and it would just be fun to kind of sit down and have coffee with somebody and just like talk about their experience when they're choosing books. I think that would be really fun because I just want to have conversations about books. So that's the questions I would ask my favorite booktuber, are just like, tell me about the books you like, but they're already doing that. So I don't know. That's kind of a non-answer. I don't really have any questions right now. It would be fun actually to make friends with another newbie. So not a favorite booktuber because other newbies don't have a ton of content up yet, but it would be fun to like make friends with another newbie to be able to just like chat about like how we're learning the different tech aspects of this, because all this video making stuff is really new to me and really fun, but I also need it to be pretty efficient because again, I'm a mom. So yeah, it would be fun to have kind of like a buddy that could kind of chat with about some of those things. So if you want to be my buddy, let me know, and we can chat about some of the logistical details about this as well as books. Okay, so number 7, what challenges do I think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? So for me, it's definitely going to be the tech, and that's just an issue of time. So I'm trying to pick it up. I'll try to make my videos better as we go along. But again, I'm here to talk about books, and even if I don't need 1,000 followers. I just need, it would just be really fun to have just a small community that wants to talk about books with me. So I'm probably not going to be doing any of the like flashy or really creative stuff. Probably not going to grow my channel unless I really get into that tech aspect of it. If that becomes really part of this and really enjoyable for me, I mean, it already is. I don't want to say like I've been having a lot of fun doing the videos. Yeah, adding bells and whistles is not going to be a huge priority of mine. And so, you know, if we think about like having a BookTube channel as like a thing, that could be a challenge. Like if I ever decide I want to grow my channel or actually get 1,000 followers or something, that would definitely be a challenge. So we'll see. When did I start reading? That's a good question. My mom claims I started reading when I was 2. I now have a kid who's almost 3, and like she kind of knows the alphabet. Like, okay, Mom, I don't think I was reading when I was 2. But I did start reading early. I mean, it was just what we did. I already talked about with the book series that got me into reading, that I was really an avid reader by the time I was in first grade or so, 6 or 7. So we can put that as the stamp. Number 9, where do you read? I read absolutely everywhere, any surface, anytime. Again, especially with the kid. and a very demanding job, I like to have books kind of all around the house. I tend to scatter books around the house that are the sorts of things you can dip in and out. So like short story books or graphic novels or kind of the meditation type books that give you like a prompt or a quote to meditate on. And so I'm not really meditating, but I can just kind of pick it up and like, just look at one or two points on a page and then just kind of think about it as I go about my day. So I have books all over the place that are in progress. I always have a book with me whenever I go out, often in several formats, because what happens if you brought a physical book with you to the doctor's office, but then you finish it and then you still have to be in the waiting room for 10 minutes? Like, oh my God, do you read a magazine? Like, no thanks. I'm just kidding. I like magazines too. But so I usually have a physical book when I leave the house. I usually, the pandemic, I don't leave the house that much, but before the pandemic, I would have a physical book. I would have an ebook that was on my Kindle app on my phone. And then I would also have my actual Kindle with a different book loaded on it, because I hate like going in and out of books on my Kindle. And so before the pandemic, I would have two books going at once, but one I would only read on my phone and one I would only read on my actual Kindle, because I'm type A like that, whatever. And then I also have audiobooks on my phone. So there's no chance of me getting stuck anywhere without ample reading material. So I read everywhere, anytime, everywhere. My favorite spot to read in my house is my couch. Very boring. The couch is comfortable. And number 10, what kind of books do I like to read? I already talked about that. I like to read absolutely everything. So one of my goals with this channel, actually going all the way back to number 1, I never even talked about this. I just started with the community thing. One of the main things is to hold myself accountable. So I do like reading. Reading is my favorite thing to do, but sometimes it's just easier to turn on Netflix. Nothing against Netflix. But if I've been watching a lot of Netflix, I just start to I'm like, I would rather be reading. Like, I've got to stop turning on Netflix and just go frickin' sit and read a book. And so that's another big reason that I started this channel, is to just encourage myself to read more books, to go back to having that be my default hobby. There are some books that are so easy to read that it's the equivalent of watching Netflix, like old favorites. So I just really want to encourage myself to do that. And so part of that is goal setting. So I'm really excited about kind of the format that a lot of booktubers do, where they set like a monthly TBR list and have the books that they want to read that month, and then update people about whether or not they finished all those books. So I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't do what I said I'd do every month, but it at least gives me something to aim towards. And so I'd really like that. And then another point that really made me want to start my own channel is something that other booktubers have said, where and I think Spinster's Library actually was the one that really articulated this in the way that felt the most like how I feel, which was it's so like my memory is not that great. And so if I look back through my Goodreads, which I've had active since 2011, so that's 9 years now, I can barely remember a lot of the books that are on there. Like, I don't remember, I see the rating, but I don't remember what I liked or didn't like about them. Did I like the characters? Like, what was I thinking about those books? I don't remember what the plot was. I don't remember anything about books except for like the few that change your life. And so I'd like to be in the habit of not just reading more, but reading more carefully and more thoughtfully, and just being present with a book when I've got it in front of me. And so that's something that I'm really looking forward to. Sorry, you can see my leggings do not match my shirt at all. Pandemic fashion. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to, is just having like a little bit of an impetus and a little bit of a reward for kind of sitting down and thinking about the book as I'm reading it, and really noting what my reaction is and questioning my reaction. Like, oh, I felt really good when I was just reading that page. Why did that make me happy? So that's one of the other goals that I have with this channel, and one of the things I'm really looking forward to. So, okay, that was a lot longer than I meant it to be. Anyway, welcome to my channel. If you like me or want to hear what I have to say about books, subscribe, leave a comment. let me know if you're a booktuber and have a channel. I'd really like to connect with other people, especially other newbies, like I mentioned. Oh, and I guess, so I think I'm going to commit to trying to upload one video a week. I tried to start, get my start with just like a couple videos to kick things off. But now I think I'm going to be posting about once a week is the goal. And one piece of that is, so I want to post once a week about kind of the books that I'm reading, like for me as an adult. And I might kick in a bonus post every now and then about kids books, just because like I mentioned a few times, I have a daughter who's almost 3, but I spend a lot of time thinking about the books I'm reading with her, because we're reading them 500 times each, and also just kind of planning ahead and thinking about what are the kinds of books that I want to introduce her to at each life stage as she gets older, each year as she gets older. So I might kick in some bonus videos just about my thoughts about kids books. It's not really something I've seen other booktubers doing, which makes sense. Kids aren't really the target audience of a lot of these. Like, I'm not going to be reading books on video, but just in case there are other booktubers that also have kids, or that know people who have kids and are looking for, you know, gift ideas or something like that. But mostly just for my own gratification, because I have thoughts about kids' books and I need somewhere to put them. So yeah, anyway, so I'll try to post once a week about the books that I'm really enjoying and choosing to read for myself. Yeah, and then maybe an occasional bonus post about what books are out there for kids these days, and my thoughts about those. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, again, my name is Beth Ann, and I'm new here, and just looking forward to some interaction talking about books. Thanks.